So here's something you may not know about me. I personally, I love ETFs. I think that they're absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of those things where financial innovation really got it right. Uh, so this is kind of my little deep dive, or maybe call it an ode to ETFs. So let's start first with what an ETF is. I'm sure you've heard all sorts of things about them and probably invested in one or several of them. Basically, ETFs are kind of a fund that then securitizes itself and sells those shares on a index. So basically, you can go to your E-Trade account or your Robinhood account, and you can buy a share of this ETF. It'll have a ticker just like any other stock. The beauty of it is you can buy. Typically you can get into this fund for a smaller amount because basically you can buy just one share or even fractional shares depending on what you're using. Um, they're really effective at placing kind of broad-based bets. Like, um, let's say I want to invest in solar energy, but I don't want to pick this solar company or that solar company because I don't know. It's in opening fields. It's really hard to shake out what's going to happen, but I feel confident that solar energy is going to be more important in 20 years than it is today. So maybe finding like a solar ETF is a great way to make that play. Um, we all know and love the idea of investing in the total stock market. We actually did a video on this earlier. It's a great way to kind of get broad-based market exposure and invest in the long term. So one of our favorite ETFs is Vanguard's Total Stock Market Index, which invests basically in the entire S&P 500. But yeah, if you have like a thesis or a hypothesis that you want to put money behind, there's probably an ETF for that. You want to invest in small cap tech stocks, there's an ETF that does that. If you want to invest in green energy, there's an ETF that does that. If you want to invest in vice stocks, there's an ETF for that as well too. And really anything you can think of, this is a great way to put your money behind a hypothesis and kind of doing your homework from a um, industry perspective as opposed from an individual company perspective. It's a great way to place a large bet on that, right? A expansive bet on it as opposed to picking one company versus another. Some things to think about here. These can get a little bit convoluted, so it's important to actually look at the prospectus of the ETF. Make sure you understand what it's investing in, how it balances itself, what the actual objective of the fund for which you are buying an ETF in is set up to do. One of the things that's really great about ETFs versus other funds is that they typically have a very, very low expense ratio. Um, I don't particularly like paying fees and expenses. I suspect you do not either. ETFs really excel at this. For the most part, you definitely want to check that and make sure that your ETF offers a competitive fee associated structure. And then one of the real upsides of I think anything I think any innovation in finance that allows you to have more liquidity in your decision is a really valuable way to kind of go about doing things. So since ETFs are traded on these different exchanges, basically you can buy into and sell at any time, which is really helpful. So those are kind of some of the high points of ETFs. If you have any specific questions or any other things you want to point out or ETFs you want to talk about, just shoot us a line. I'd love to talk about this stuff. But anyway, ETFs, really great place to get started. Great place to kind of place, larger bets on. So take a look at it and see what's out there, and find you the ETF that really defines you as a person and invest in it. No, anyway, yeah, yay ETFs. Okra loves ETFs too, don't you? I love ETFs. They're the best. All right, guys.